Welcome to the Ramchal School. The writings of the Amsterdam period between 1735 and 1743. These lectures that I will be giving are dealing with the writings of Ramchal in Amsterdam. And it's very well known that there are two periods in Ramchal's literary life. The first period, Ramchal lived in Italy until 1734, and he was acting there mainly as a Kabbalist. From 1935 on, Ramchal lived in Amsterdam. I will deal later with the reasons why he moved from one place to the other. And from 1735 until 1743, he wrote a different type of literature, which was more like, we would say, didactic learning books, like Mesilat Yesharim was one of them, the books of logic, and others of that kind. But before we go into the actual subject matter, I would like to introduce myself and explain why, or rather what's my relation to Ramchal in general, and how did I come to the books of the Amsterdam period. So we go back to 1970. At that time, I came to Mount Zion, Har Zion, in Jerusalem, in order to learn Torah. In that yeshiva, Yeshivat Atfutzot, Diaspora Yeshiva, we learned all the things that other yeshivas learned, like the Talmud and the codes, and etc. But there was something different. The Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Mordechai Goldstein, insisted that the students should learn also 3 books of the Ramchal. One of them was Sefer HaHigayon, the general logic. Another one was Derech Tvunot, the logic of the Talmud. And the third one was Sefer HaMelitza, which you could call the art of speech. Now, without that, the Rosh Yeshiva was not willing to give a rabbinical ordination to anyone who didn't learn these books. Of course, that rule was not applied. There were students who took the learning of logic and so on seriously. I was one of them. Others were not so interested. Nevertheless, in 1972, my friend Rabbi David Sackton and myself started to translate Sefer HaHigayon, the general logic, in English. And after a while, I understood that we were missing information and in order to carry out the project, and I left. And I went back to Rambam, Maimonides' logic, Milot HaHigayon, and I stayed with that for a number of years, even though Rambam's logic was a general logic that was not made for the Talmud. Nevertheless, it was very useful to classify halacha, and for that purpose, I followed the teachings of Rabbi Yosef Rosin, known as the Rogatchover, and he was, I might say, my mentor during all these years. And now we go a step forward. It was about in 2010 that I wanted to go back to Derech Tvunot, the logic of the Talmud. I felt that this was a very important instrument to learn the Talmud and understand the Talmud logically. And I started to do research in that direction. And I searched and I found that in 1998, Professor Mannequin published an article in which he showed the Latin book was the basis for Ramchal's general logic, Sefer HaGayon. As we know, in the beginning of the introduction of Sefer HaGayon, Ramchal writes that he took most of his book from foreign languages and he translated and adapted them to Hebrew, but he doesn't give the sources. So Dr. Mannequin was very lucky to find the Latin book that was the base for Ramchal's logic, general logic. The importance of that discovery, however, was not limited to the general logic, because in the Sefer HaGayon, actually we saw the system, the logical system which was used by Ramchal in other works, such as the logic of the Talmud, etc. So I was very fortunate that I was able to put out in 2013, I put out a French translation of Derech Tvunot, the logic of the Talmud, because French is my mother tongue. Later on in 2017, I put out the original Hebrew edition with the commentaries, updated with the new logic, etc. And now I have an English translation, which is waiting to be published, God willing. Now, this is the background to explain why, when I did research for the logic, I was able to enlarge my perspective, and I discovered very interesting things about the whole Amsterdam period when the Ramchal was there. Actually, I must give credit to Professor Meir Benayahu, who wrote a very interesting book called Kitvei HaKabbalah Shel Ramchal. As the title indicates, the book deals with the Kabbalistic writings of Ramchal. However, somewhere in the book, he mentions three of the writings of the Ramchal in Amsterdam: Derech Chochmah, the way of wisdom; Ma'amar Agadot, the essay on Agadot; and Ma'amar Ikarim, the essay on principles. And he says that these books were custom made for the young Portuguese Jews of Amsterdam. And this really opened something for me for further research, because I understood that Ramchal, when he came to Amsterdam, became part, he was integrated in that so-called Portuguese community. And I told myself, if that's the case, it must be, or at least I can suppose, that Ramchal's writings of that period were directed for the Portuguese Jews of Amsterdam. And as we know, in Ramchal's days, there were Portuguese Jews who were like Moranos originally, who were coming to Amsterdam to come back to Judaism. And there were rabbis, Portuguese and others, that were helping them to reintegrate formal Judaism, because they were very distantiated from it. So my assumption was, my work hypothesis was that Ramchal was one of those who actually helped to integrate the newcomers, so-called Portuguese Jews. Portuguese Jews, by the way, is synonymous with Marano, and help them to reintegrate formal Judaism. As I was progressing, I found out, when I looked closer to the books written in the Amsterdam period, that my hypothesis was becoming more and more justified. And this is actually the purpose of the lectures that are coming, God willing. I will explain book by book and show the hints that are contained in those books, and to show why exactly, what was the point that Ramchal was trying to convey in every one of them in connection to the Marrano culture, etc. So I hope to see you later for the second, or actually the first of the lectures. This was an introduction. So hope to see you soon, and all the best to you.